banking model of education remains devastatingly relevant.
Perhaps the most extensively documented cognitive barrier to critical thinking is confirmation bias.
The development stakes are high.
If critical thinking is critical for development, why do educated people find it so difficult to think critically? My name is Lalo Kujisepe from the Kane University School of Business, Group 2 from Logistics Supply Chain Management. So today, we are going to be asking ourselves, why do people, even the educated, find it difficult to think critically? Critical thinking is the process of analyzing facts, evidence, observations, and arguments to reach sound conclusion or informal choices. It involves recognizing underlying assumptions, providing justifications for ideas and actions, evaluating these justifications through comparison with varying perspectives, and assessing their rationality and potential consequences. The goal of critical thinking is to form a judgment through the application of rational, skeptical, and unbiased analysis and evaluation. The use of the phrase critical thinking can be traced to John Dewey, who used the phrase reflective thinking, an excellence of critical thinking in which a person can engage use of phrase critical thinking can be traced to John Dewey, who used the phrase reflective thinking, an excellence of critical thinking in which a person can engage varies according to the individual's knowledge base, on which both depend. The use of phrase critical thinking can be traced to John Dewey, who used the phrase reflective thinking, an excellence of critical thinking in which a person can engage varies according to the individual's knowledge base, on which both depend.
This paradox is not merely an academic curiosity. It has consequences for public health, democratic governance, economic decision-making, and social justice. If education is supposed to produce critical thinkers and yet often fails to do so, we must ask why and what can be done about it. The present paper engages this question by examining cognitive and psychological barriers, educational and social barriers, and the specific failure of formal education to guarantee critical thought. It concludes with a set of pathways forward that move beyond surface reforms towards a deeper transformation of society value and cultivate the questioning. The thesis of this paper is threefold. First, critical thinking is cognitively costly and runs counter to self-wide cognitive tendencies. Second, that educational systems are largely designed to transmit knowledge rather than to interrogate it. And third, that social environment frequently punished rather than to reward independent thinking. Together, these factors explain why the educated non-thinkers is not an anomaly but a predictable outcome of the system you have built.
Before examining why critical thinking is difficult, it is worth establishing why it matters to be found. Critical thinking, as defined by Ennis, is different from reflective thinking that is focused on deciding what to do or believe. At the individual's level, it enables people to navigate complex decisions, resist manipulations, and pursue authentic self-knowledge. At the societal level, it is the foundational to science, law, democracy, and ethical deliberation. The development stakes are high. Sen in 1999 argued in his capabilities approach that genuine human development requires a freedom and capacity to deliberate about one's own life and to participate meaningfully in collective decision making. Without crucial thinking, development becomes a paternalistic imposition rather than an empowering process. Simply, Fry in 1970 identified the failures to think critically as a cornerstone of oppression. When people accept without questioning, they become objects rather than subjects of their history.
The human brain is not by default a critical thinking machine. Evolutionary psychology suggests that many cognitive shortcuts, which served our ancestors well, rapid pattern recognition, in-group loyalty, deference to authority, are precisely those that undermine careful, critical reasoning in modern contexts. Kahneman's dual process theory distinguishes between System 1 thinking, which is fast, intuitive, effortless, and System 2 thinking, which is slow, deliberate, and effortful. Critical thinking is a System 2 activity, but the brain is biased towards System 1 because it conserves mental energy. Perhaps the most extensively documented cognitive barrier to critical thinking is confirmation bias, which is the tendency to seek out, favor, and recall information that confirms existing beliefs while dismissing contradictory evidence. The bias operates at every level of the intellectual spectrum. Educated individuals are not immune. Indeed, research suggests that they may be more skilled at rationalizing their biases rather than eliminating them. A phenomenon Stanovich calls dysrationalia, a mismatch between intelligence and rationality. A high IQ can be deployed to construct more elaborate defenses of a flawed position rather than to question it. Educated individuals are not immune. Indeed, research suggests that they may be more skilled at rationalizing their biases rather than eliminating them.
Well, so the Dunning-Kruger effect demonstrated in the landmark study that individuals with limited knowledge in their domain tend to overestimate their competence, while expect tend to underestimate theirs. This creates a paradox within the paradox. Those who most need to think more carefully are often the least aware of the need to do so. The illusion of knowledge reinforced by degrees, titles, and social recognition can produce an intellectual complacency that is antithetical to genuine critical thinking. As Bertrand Russell observed, the whole problem in the world is that the fools and fanatics are always so centered on themselves, and wiser people so full of doubts. To the heuristics and emotional reason, beyond confirmation biases and overconfidence, a range of heuristics systematically distort reasoning. The availability heuristic leads people to judge the likelihood of events by how easily examples come to mind, inflating perceptions of risks from vivid but rare events. Tversky and Kahneman, 1974. The anchoring effect causes initial information to disproportionately influence subsequent judgments. Emotional reasoning, the cognitive distortion, in which feelings are treated as evidence. I feel it, therefore it must be true, quote and unquote, further undermines the logical evaluation of claims. These mechanisms below conscious awareness, making them especially resistant to correction by mere information.
Fierre's critique of what he called the banking model of education remains devastatingly relevant. In this model, students are treated as empty vessels into which teachers deposit knowledge. Learning becomes an act of passive receptionist rather than active inquiry.
Why education does not guarantee critical thinking, the paradox of educated non-thinker. It will be tempting to conclude that more education is the straightforward solution to the barriers described above. The evidence suggests otherwise. Research consistently finds that years of schooling correlate one weekly with measures of critical thinking ability. In the landmark study of American college students, Aram and Roska found that a significant proportion showed no improvement in critical thinking, complex reasoning, or thinking skills after 2 years of higher education. The educated non-thinker, which is the anomaly, it is in many institutions, which is the norm.
This failure is the conflation of credentials with competence. Credentialism is a social system in which qualifications are taken as proxies for knowledge and ability. It creates powerful incentives to acquire degrees without engaging in intellectual struggle that genuine learning requires. A degree becomes a signal of social status and employability rather than evidence of transformed mind. In this system, intellectual humility, a recognition of the limits of one's knowledge, and the willingness to revise one's belief in the light of new evidence is not merely unrewarded, it can be actively penalized because it signals uncertainty in the environment that prides confidence expertise.
Critical thinking is taught as an exclusive skill in philosophy, logic or argumentation courses. There is frequently gap between knowing about critical thinking and practicing it in our daily life. For Perkins and Richards describe this as the difference between ability and speech. One may possess the tools of critical analysis without having developed the habit of applying them outside of formal academic context. Hypotheses are formed through repeated practice in motivated environments. They cannot be produced by just a single course or set of exercises, however well designed.
Pedagogical reform. If the banking model of education produces passive recipients of knowledge, the alternative is what theory called problem posing. Education, a dialogue model in which students and teachers together interrogate reality, question assumption, and construct understanding through active inquiry. Practically, this means privileging open-ended questions over right answers, teaching students to identify and evaluate arguments rather than merely to reproduce conclusions, in creating assessment environment in which uncertainty, revision and productive disagreement are valued rather than penalized. The Socrates method, inquiry-based learning and philosophy for children program represent concrete implementation of this approach.
Conclusion: the paradox with which the paper began with, why critical thinking is so difficult for the educated, even the single has no answer, but it has a coherent explanation. Critical thinking is effortful, cognitively costful, and socially risky. It runs against the grain of cognitive shortcuts that evolution has wired into the human's brain. It's undermined by educational systems designed for knowledge transmission rather than intellectual transformation, as it is discouraged by social environments in which conformity, authority defense, and credentials are rewarded. The educated non-thinker is not a paradox, but it's a product. The predictable outcome of the system that teach people how to think rather than how to think. Addressing this requires more than curriculum tweaks or addition of critical thinking modules.